Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3. And in this particular video, I want to talk to you about whether professors actually get pensions. And if so, how do they actually plan for retirement? So, if you don't know me, I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out that I wanted to pay the favor forward and help you out. So I surveyed the reciprocity community, which is primarily PhDs and professors and folks like that. And here was a response to a question for the surveys. Are you investing in or what are you investing in? Here are the responses that I got. And granted, it's a small survey at this moment, so it's 15 individuals who responded, but we still get a sense of what's actually going on, right? So 33% said that they are investing in their pension. 33% saying that they invest in their 403b or 401k. So 403b is very similar to a 401k in terms of what it does in the United States. And it's just basically a personally managed retirement plan or investment plan for those of you who are outside of the United States. It's not a pension, but you manage it like a pension. And then 33% said that they are not investing in anything, which is actually quite surprising. And I would love for you to actually start making this positive move at this moment. And so the first thing that I want you to do in terms of doing, if you're watching this video, is make sure that you start paying off your loans and start paying off all your student loans as quickly as you possibly can. But then once you started doing that, start investing in any one of these, the pension or the your retirement plan, some sort of retirement plan. It's really important. I want you to be very, very successful, and I want you to win at life. And the only way that you can do this is making these investments over time. And it takes a long time to do this. It's not surprising. Actually, it's not surprising that people aren't investing at this moment, but because people are human beings and we forget to do these kind of things. And I want to make a very strong plea for you to actually go and do this. If you want to live at life, you want to be very successful at life, you have to start investing and taking charge of things. And in investing in, I would implore you to aim towards 15% if you can do this. But instead, if you can't do this, just start off with 1% of your total income that you're bringing in for the given year. And just start off with small amounts and work your way up with it. I'd highly encourage you to do this. So the other thing that I would highly encourage you to do, and again, it depends on the country that you live in, but for me, I like to sort of control and have a tremendous amount of control over my investments and my retirement, right? So if you have the choice to choose between a pension and some sort of personally managed retirement plan, which we do in the United States and I believe in Canada as well, I truly would invest in my own retirement plan, the 403b, and that's what I choose to do. This is my own personal advice. This is what I would do in terms of sort of planning out your career and in planning out where you want to go. So there's a number of different reasons why I would actually do that, right? So pensions, they don't, so at least in the United States, and I believe in Canada as well, and I'm not sure across all of the, all the different countries and stuff, but they don't really work well for professors because they're very state specific or they're very local specific. So I want you to look into some of these things. They lock you into staying at a particular state. So in my state, in Florida, what they do is once you invest in the pension, you can't come back and reinvest in the pension. Say you want to leave and come back, you can't get back into that pension plan. And so it's better to actually invest in the 403b because then you can, if you choose to leave, right, as we do, right? Professors leave, they go over, they travel all over the world, they live someplace for a couple of years and they come back, all that kind of stuff. If you do choose to do that, then you can't, it leaves you more options in terms of being able to control what you want to do with your life. The other thing is that it doesn't allow you to control your investments. And so because of that, because it's state controlled, they tend to be very, very conservative, which is okay for some people. But if you are a younger professor or, you still got 10, 15 years left, then making a little bit more of aggressive retirement plans can actually net you significant amounts of income in the long run. And I'm not saying aggressive in the sense that you should be throwing all your money at Bitcoin. That's I'm going to say it out there. That's garbage. That's a total waste of your money to do anything like that. I would never do that. But what I would do is invest in companies and mutual funds that are, growth fund mutual funds. So these are things like, you invest in 1,000 different companies, right? So, well, maybe it's 100 different companies in a mutual fund. And they're all companies like Ford, General Motors, Medtronic, the General Electric, all very large companies, are very stable, and they don't necessarily change that much, but they're still growing over time, right? And that's what you're looking for, is these kind of companies to invest in, because that's what they do anyways, right? So the pension plans take it and they invest in these companies anyways. So no matter what you do, they just invest in things that are a lot more conservative. So they'll keep some money back. They'll hold on to cash, for example. They might invest more in bonds and different things like that, and sort of government bonds, large governments. So the U.S. Treasury bill, for example, they might invest in something like that rather than investing in these larger corporations. And so it's really important to think about this in terms of the growth potential that you're missing out on in terms of what you're doing. For example, a pension plan might have a 5% or a 6% return for your money in terms of what you're investing in, but within the stock market, with these mutual funds, you will probably net yourself about 10% or 11% or 12%, and that's historically over the course of 100 years, very long time horizon that's actually happening. But I should point out that I'm not an investment advisor, and I encourage you to go and talk to an investment advisor. And that's the third thing that I want you to sort of think about with all of these decisions is that I really want you to sort of take control of yourself and not rely on an employer that's out there, right? So I trust my employer. They're a great employer. I have great colleagues. They're amazing. But, this is a big but, is that it's still government run. And it still is somebody and somebody else. And government run means that there's maybe 2 or 3 people that are managing the state, pension plan, right? And then there's all these sort of other people that sort of take control and respond to that. So if you pick up a book, pick up 5 different personal investment books, or even 3 different personal investments, even 1 personal investment book, and just kind of read about it and look for ones that are legitimate. Dave Ramsey stuff is good recommendations. Highly would recommend for you to pick up that. The Wealthy Barber, things like that. Just really basic investment books, personal investment books, and pick it up and read some of these things and start taking control of your life. Then you don't have to rely on your employer to come into the rescue, or the government to come into rescue to you whenever you are down, right? So it just depends on what your belief in terms of what's going to happen with the government, what's going to happen with your employer. My employer is really well managed, but do I trust in 30 years that's going to be well managed? I'm just nervous about that, because you do see states around the country where it is not, and things can change very quickly. And so if you're controlling this and you have control over yourself, then you can make sure that this doesn't happen. I encourage you to sort of think about that. And so what I personally use is 403Bs, we invest, my family invest in just regular old mutual funds within these 403Bs, and I look for the best return for the money. And then we just invest in those in terms of what those are, and nothing like really risky or anything like that. Just basic, growth fund mutual funds, some high growth mutual funds, some international funds. Just really things like that are really simple. They're large corporations, and they're all kind of, they have pretty good long track records, and that's what you want to look for. Is maybe, this is basically Dave Ramsey says this, right? And I think a lot of his advice is really good. So looking for stuff that's been around for 50 years, right? So if it's been around for 50 years and it's still doing pretty good, it's probably going to be around for another 50 years. And you just pay attention to that. And if it starts going stinky after 5 years, you just sort of change things over and you find another thing to invest in. So I try to have control over my own funds. It allows me to sort of monitor things, and you have to monitor things, right? So that is an important thing, is to keep on track of things. And then, the other thing is that if we do move, as we do as professors and PhDs and whatnot, we tend to move a fair bit because we are mobile. We can go to many different places. I'm a transplant in Florida. I'm not born and raised in Florida. I'm born and raised in Canada. So it's likely we are going to move, or we want to move, right? At some point, which is not in our near-term future, but just grand scheme of things, moving is a very real possibility. So I want to be able to easily move with these things. So in terms of what I would recommend for you going forward, I just want you to sort of think about this in terms of what you should do, right? So take it seriously and really have a discussion. If you have a family, talk to your spouse in terms of what you're going to do. Then once you're sort of thinking about this, get some information. Just go find people that you can actually trust in your corner. There's a lot of sort of slimy people out there in terms of investment people. And, it's kind of interesting when you first go to a university, if you're doing this for the first time, there's going to be a horde of different investment people that are going to come and try to visit with you and have meetings and stuff. But try to find people that are trustworthy. So, talk to people that you trust around you, your employees or your colleagues that you trust in terms of giving good advice. I know it's going to be hard and difficult to find those people at the beginning, but look for some of those people. Get a good sense of who those individuals are that you're actually meeting with, personal investors. And then once you talk to them, you should not feel sort of slimy. It should be sort of a growth process that happens, and that's what you should be looking for, right? And then finally, what you want to do once you sort of start thinking about an investment plan, look for things that, that have pretty good returns, right? So there are investment people out there that are going to try to get you into, things like annuities or, some sort of insurance plans and stuff like that just have terrible rates of return that are really low. That are that they're way too conservative for what most people need, and you can find different things out there. And I would stress for you to look broadly and to take your time when you look for this. It's better to have $1,000 in your bank account making 1% interest rate, or 0% interest rate, than investing in somebody taking that $1,000 and putting it into Bitcoin, or investing in somebody that's a little shady. So take your time, look for this, really take these investments seriously. Don't just take the first thing that comes to you, and really work through this and take your time, invest as much time in sort of exploring what this is about. Get a couple of books before you make these decisions. And because the last thing that you want to be is 65 or 80 or whenever you want to retire, and not having the resources to be able to do that, and you're being forced to actually continue to work going forward. You want to be in the place where you can choose to work if you want to. That's an amazing time in everybody's life where you could just walk away, and you could say, if your employer is not treating you any sort of in a good way, you could just say, I don't care, I'm walking away. That gives you tremendous amount of power, bargaining power in the situation, and it gives you a lot of peace of mind. So that's all I want to talk about with this video, is that the vast majority so there's still 33% of people not investing in their retirement. Now, granted, they might be paying down their student loans and stuff like that. That's awesome. But make sure once you do that, you pay it down as aggressively as you can. That you start and investing in either a pension or some personally managed sort of retirement plan. And I would personally lean towards a personally managed retirement plan, just because I like to control things. I've got issues with sort of, giving control of a large amount of my assets to other people that, may or may not be bright. And I'm not saying I'm bright, but I'm saying that, I'm going to pay attention to this a heck of a lot more than those people are going to pay attention to it. And then, I'm going to look for a multitude of people to give me advice in terms of building my retirement plan. And that's what we do. And we continue to do that. And it's doing quite well for us in terms of what we do going forward. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.